Hello again, welcome to Yanagi Beta Changes version 3. We will talk about Yanagi changes and what we can gain from it. And before we get started on my previous video, Yanagi's damage was high, and after looking into my calculations I forgot to remove the Caesar buff from her W engine and Caesar's buff from her Battle Spirit. The damage difference was noticeable, but to that I would like to apologize to everyone for the silly mistake I made. I'm very sorry for providing you with information that wasn't accurate enough, and in this video I made sure that everything is correct, so let's get started. I'll give you a brief explanation to what changed and how these changes affect her playstyle. Her ultimate gained a polarity disorder that is 18% of the original disorder. On top of that, the damage she adds as an additional damage is 40% of her anomaly proficiency. The second change was on her EX special. It took a nerf and it is now 18% from 25% and now adds 40% of Yanagi's anomalies proficiency. And lastly, her core passive. Instead of the damage multiplier being 400, it is now 350%. From these changes, we can now assume that the only unit in your team that will need to use the ultimate is going to be Yanagi. Previously, I only considered Burnice to use her ultimate, but with these changes, Yanagi is now forced to use her ultimate. The way you want to play her is to proc her polarity disorder the moment an anomaly is applied, any type of anomaly by either herself or the other element from a different agent. And since we're at it, what we could consider is simple. The combo for the rotation is going to be starting from her normal stance, hitting 5 times, then you use her charge attack to get into low stance, and once you go through her low stance, you need to use her skill. Because of that, it'll skip normal attack 1 and normal attack 2, making her go into normal attack 3, 4, and 5, and that's basically the rotation with her. Assuming that the team is Yanagi Burnice and Rina, her damage is still pretty good on pen ratio, and the difference in damage is 19,786. And of course, this includes the changes as well, but comparing them to what she was previously, her damage went down significantly. With Yanagi Burnice and Rina, the damage compared to both on pen and with element, her damage went down significantly. I've tested also her previous team, which was with Burnice, Caesar and Yanagi as well. Let's just say that was the only right calculation I had from my previous video, but also gaining more damage. The squad was doing great amount of damage in elemental, but was lacking in pen. However, when the boss was done, pen was leading in the DPS and DPR. Although I would now go back to say that without Rina, you shouldn't play with pen for sure. And before people ask me why the damage changed from the previous cheat, the damage difference was not that massive with it. With pen in the previous video, the squad was holding around 3.72 million DPR on elemental, while on pen it was holding 3.75 million. And with these new changes, it feels like she's gotten better results, with 3.79 million on elemental and 3.78 million on pen. So it seems like this team got slightly buffed with these changes. Lastly, we're diving into the team that many people that commented on my previous video wanted to see, which is Yanagi Piper Soukaku. While it did underperform compared to the previous teams, it still managed to keep going with a great DPR. I've made 2 separate calculations for people. In case you have M0 Piper, the damage was 2.11 million DPR, and I made sure I counted how many hits she did with her EX special, and it was 15 hits. While if you have M6 Piper, the damage was 2.16 million DPR. And as you are seeing, the damage difference isn't huge, but at least it's functional and playable. Let's now look at the W engines and what you'll gain from them, at least according to the calculations. This calculation is only with Yanagi and won't involve any squads in it. I'm just making this clear from now so people don't assume I'm favoring any W engine over the other. Her number 1 ranking is her best in slot W engine. Second to it is Fusion Compiler, third is Weeping Gemini, fourth is Rainforest, and fifth is Lip Gloss. So to sum up the whole video, the nerfs that were made today were tuning her down a bit because she was out of control, and honestly I don't see her as a bad unit now, since a lot of people in my comments in my previous video as well were anticipating for new agents that were anomaly with ether, or at least A rank that can function well with Yanagi, and to that I say I'm only going to be hopeful. So is she still worth pulling after the nerfs? Honestly, from my own perspective, with these adjustments they made, she feels like she's on equal footing with Jane Doe, but I don't see see her performing as good as Jane Doe, or even exceeding Jane Doe, unless we use Burnice with her, but until they release a new agent that is an off-field anomaly agent, we have reached the end. My apologies for making the mistakes with my previous video, but hopefully I've earned your subscription today. If I didn't, let me know in the comment section below if I said anything wrong or if my calculations were wrong. See you in the next one.